So 2 years ago, I decided to make a cake for absolutely no reason at all. This one here. And it was something that I did to just fill some of my spare time. And I didn't expect to like it as much as I did, but I chose to keep going with it. So I taught myself how to bake and how to cake decorate. And it was pretty rough in the beginning because I didn't know what I was doing. I made a lot of mistakes, but I've been learning from every mistake that I've made, and I've been improving on my skills ever since. So I decided to recreate that very first cake by doing an updated version of it. And it amazes me about the following that I've gained from doing something that I thought was cool and fun. It's so unexpected, but I'm so appreciative and so grateful to every single one of you all. So I'll keep pushing myself to do bigger and better things. And here's to another 2 years of cake decorating.
Okay, story time. So I work at a jewelry store, and today a man came in looking for a gift for his wife for their 10th year anniversary. He ended up picking out a piece that said, "My beautiful wife." And I said, "Anything else for you today?" And he said, "No, that's it for her, but I do want to make another purchase using a separate credit card. And could you possibly create a different account for me?" And I said, "Sure, what are you looking for?" And he said, "Do you have anything that says girlfriend?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Perfect, I'll take it. And do you have anything that says happy 1 year anniversary to go with it?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Perfect, I'll take it." So I boxed everything up all nice and I put them in their respected bags. He had me mark a K for Kristen on the bottom of his wife's bag and an L for Laura on the bottom of his girlfriend's bag. I put pretty bows on them. I handed it to him. I said, "They're gonna love it. Have a nice day." And he said, "Thank you." And shit, I just remembered that his wife's name is Laura and his girlfriend's name is Kristen. I must have mixed up the bags. Oops.
I have 30 minutes to decorate 3 cakes. These are for my coworker's baby shower. Yes, this is actual cake, not ice cream, and no, Dairy Queen does not sell this. I just hate baking. I don't have the time or patience for it, so I went to Kroger and bought plain cakes to decorate myself. This isn't for a customer or anything. I'm not charging her for it, and I never claim for them to be homemade, so don't come for me. Anyways, I mixed up this cute teal color to base ice the cakes in, and I normally don't do a base layer on ice cream cakes, so I got it as smooth as I could. And Dylan taught me the best decorating hack ever, so I had a full piping bag with a coupler inside of it already, but I decided to use a larger Wilton 1M tip. So instead of making a new bag, you just slide the full one into another bag with the bigger tip. So I used my favorite sprinkles, got a border on there, and then for decorating, I just tried to match the writing that was on the invitation. I really like when people bring in invitations or party favors to match because it kind of gives me something to go off of. I added some sports-themed decorations on top, and I'm actually really happy with how they turned out, considering the fact that...
Story time, and this one is a fast one. Okay, so I go to work and I look at all of the wedding cakes and all of the 2 tiers, and I notice that one is not paid for. So I'm like, that's weird. I'm gonna call the lady and make sure it's still a good order. I called the customer and she was like, like my mom went in and she paid for it. And she even called me to ask what name I put it under because she was confused. Whoever was helping her couldn't find her cake order, so she started to get worried. So I ended up asking her, okay, well, how did she pay? Because if she paid with her card, maybe she could just text me a picture of her receipt. And when I look at the receipt, I could see what day and time she came in and figure out who helped her and figure out who forgot to write that she paid on the order. That way we could remind them, hey, you really need to remember to write down that they paid on the order because it's an inconvenience for us to have to call somebody the day before their party and ask them about something they already took care of.
Let me tell you about the time my family almost had to fight at Disney World. This particular trip, my cousin brought her kids and they'd never been to Disney World, so they begged to see the fireworks show. Since everyone in my direct family is like an adult or a teenager, we usually skip it, but we went ahead and did it. And if you've ever been, you know there's thousands of people that pack in front of the castle to watch the fireworks. So we got there an hour early. As the time went by, more and more people packed in. We were shoulder to shoulder with all these different families and everyone was talking, laughing, having a great time. During all of this, our family and the other families, we made sure that everyone could see, all the kids could see, no one was standing in front of someone that was shorter than them. And then 10 minutes before the show was supposed to start, the sun is going down. You can hardly see. Like I said, we're shoulder to shoulder. This family starts squeezing through all of these people. It was 3 adults, 2 children, and they had a giant stroller. But we're all at Disney World. Who cares? We're all feeling good. So, we're trying to step aside and let them slide through, even though it's nearly impossible. But these people stopped directly in front of my family. When I tell you, our noses were literally in their backs. My little sister had someone standing directly in front of her, and so she made the comment to me like, oh, I stepped aside to let them by. I didn't know they were gonna stop right in front of me. Now I can't see. And then the other families around us started making comments too, and then this one lady who we'd been talking to the whole time, she literally straight up told him like, hey, we've been here an hour, all of these kids could see, and now you guys are standing right in front of them, like that's not right. So that family grumbled and they finally decided to leave. And like I said, it was nearly impossible to let people slide by you at this point, but they were pushing through trying to get out. And the one girl that was standing in front of my sister, she turns around and says, if one more person says something, I'm gonna have to smack the shit out of them. I already knew that she said that because she heard what my little sister said to me. So I was kind of in shock for a second. And then all of a sudden my husband was like, oh, okay. Kind of saying like, I dare you. This girl, I don't know if she's a teenager or a young adult, I couldn't really tell, but she swings around angrily and she's like, I'm gonna get my brother to come kick your ass. Meanwhile, I'm just still in shock because I'm like, oh my God, are we gonna fight? If we fight, are we gonna get banned from Disney World? I mean, that would be horrible because I actually like coming here. He then tells her much more calmly than I expected because I literally looked up at him like, what are you doing? And he was like, okay, go get him. So my head is like swiveling around looking for her brother because he kind of was a big guy. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. But he's like way up ahead of her, carrying a baby, pushing a stroller, and struggling to get out of the crowd. So I was like, whew, good God. Before she can finish like her rant that she's going on, the family that had been standing behind us that was so nice, the husband and wife literally just stepped in front of her and like she couldn't even see us anymore. So she finally just walked away. But after the fireworks were over and we had like an after hours pass, so we were staying a little bit later, I was on high alert. Like I was looking everywhere. I was like, oh my God, if this family pops up somewhere, like, are we gonna have to fight them? Because I'm gonna be real.
Okie dokie, let's make a wedding cake. So first up, I've got a 9-inch cake. This is the bottom tier of a 3-tiered cake. I have placed it on a 14-inch board, and the reason I've done such a large board is because it's going to have quite a big floral arrangement down the bottom. You can see I've done a crumb coat, and now I'm doing the second coat. I guess you could call that a sort of sandy nude colour. And if you're wondering how I actually got this colour, I mixed 2 colours together from the Colour Mill range. I mixed clay and rose. Moving on to the second tier, this is a 7-inch, and I'm going to cover the entire thing in white buttercream. So I did a crumb coat and a top coat. I then chucked that cake in the chiller to get really firm before using this mesh stencil from Caking It Up. These particular stencils are super fine and you almost can't see them on camera. But in person, they look so beautiful and delicate, and it just worked perfectly for this design. Now, I didn't show me covering that top tier in buttercream because it was just a plain white, but it is a 5-inch. And now I'm ready for the florals. Stay tuned.
Okay, it's part 2 of the wrong name. So the lady tells me, yeah, I think she paid with card, but let me call her and I'll call you right back. Not even 2 minutes later, the grandma is calling the bakery. And she's like, I have my receipt. This is how much I paid. This is who helped me. This is the day I came in. This is the time I came in. I said, okay, what last name did you give them? And she said, my last name. But keep in mind that her daughter placed the order and her daughter has a different last name. So me knowing this, because I have the order in front of me, I'm like, I think she paid for the wrong cake order. I think whatever name she gave them, there's legit an order back there that's the same last name. So I go look for that last name, find the order, and she paid for the wrong one. So we got it all figured out. She was really nice, super understanding. Definitely see where the confusion happened. And I'm just happy everything worked out.
Mom makes these amazing cookie bars. She makes them for holidays and family gatherings, and people always request that she brings them. I asked her for the recipe once and she laughed and said no, it's hers and she doesn't give it to anyone. I dropped it and never asked again. Recently, I've been baking a lot. It's been fun in my downtime. I decided to recreate the cookie bars my mother-in-law makes. After tweaking about 5 recipes, I finally nailed it. Then I decided to make it my own and improve it to my taste. I used higher quality chocolate, vanilla bean paste instead of extract, and a pinch of fine sea salt. The results were over the top delicious. My husband declared that they are better than his mom's and finished the pan in 2 days. He was FaceTiming his mom on Saturday eating one, and she asked what he had. He said one of her cookie bars and that I'd made the recipe even better. She lost it and started yelling about how awful I am for making her cookies and that I had no right. She isn't speaking to me or her son, but if you want this recipe, get this to 50 shares.
Okie dokie, so Star Wars. I am a massive fan. I have been a fan all my life. I'm not one of those toxic fans though. I find something to love in everything that comes out and I've watched everything. In saying that, my favourite is Episode 4, A New Hope. Anyway, I digress. The cake. I made this cake back in May and I was super proud of it. But I thought I'd share a little bit of the process. mainly what goes on before I even start decorating. So the first step when doing a cake like this is to do some research. I printed off pictures of an actual Stormtrooper helmet from every angle, front, sides, back, above, and I had them on the wall in front of me as I decorated this cake. Next up, I had a look at other Stormtrooper helmet cakes. Sometimes you can find a common mistake made when making a cake like this, and I found one. The most common mistake that other people make when making a Stormtrooper helmet cake is that they don't give him a neck, which means the back of the helmet is touching the cake board. Once I'd identified that mistake, I made sure that I didn't make it. So I added a neck, it lifted the back of the helmet up, and the whole shape came together really well.